Imagine a world without smartphones, streaming services, or endless notifications. 100 years ago, American families lived in a rhythm that seems almost unimaginable today, yet somehow they were closer, stronger, and more connected than many families now. Life of an American family 100 years ago. A century ago, in a small town in New England, the Thompson family lived a life that modern Americans would find both fascinating and surprising. The father, Robert Thompson, worked tirelessly on his farm, tending to fields of corn and wheat from dawn until dusk. His wife, Eleanor, managed the household, cooking every meal from scratch, making clothing repairs, preserving fruits and vegetables for the winter, and raising their 5 children with patience and care. Their home, a wooden farmhouse with a stone fireplace, was modest, yet it was the center of a life that revolved around family, work, and the cycles of nature. Unlike today, electricity was limited and modern appliances were almost non-existent. Water had to be drawn from the well, meals were prepared using seasonal ingredients, and heating came from the fireplace or wood stove. Every family member had responsibilities, and children were considered active contributors rather than passive dependents. 10-year-old Samuel would help his father feed the animals and collect eggs in the morning before heading to the one-room schoolhouse that served the entire town. His younger sister Clara would assist Eleanor in preparing meals, washing clothes by hand, and learning essential life skills that would serve her for decades. Chores were seen not as burdens, but as lessons in discipline, cooperation, and the value of hard work. Sundays were reserved for family togetherness, reflection, and community. Without television or social media, families relied on conversation, reading, storytelling, and music to entertain themselves. After attending church services, the Thompsons would gather around the fireplace to share stories of their ancestors, local legends, and personal experiences. These stories were more than mere entertainment. They were a way to instill values, history, and identity. The children learned about courage, perseverance, and morality through these narratives, creating bonds that extended beyond bloodlines. Education was important, but very different from today's formalized system. The local schoolhouse taught basic reading, writing, and arithmetic, but the Thompsons believed that the farm itself was a classroom. Samuel learned about crop rotation, weather patterns, and animal care from Robert, while Clara learned about herbs, sewing, and household management from Eleanor. Each skill was passed down intentionally, preparing the children for adulthood and teaching them the importance of self-reliance and responsibility.
Community played an essential role in family life. Neighbors were extensions of the family, often called upon for help with harvesting, barn raising, or childcare. Social gatherings were regular and meaningful, including harvest festivals, weddings, and town meetings. Children grew up understanding that they were part of something larger, that their actions affected not only their own family, but the wider community. Cooperation and mutual support were not optional. They were a necessity for survival and social cohesion. Meals were central to the daily rhythm of life. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner were occasions for family members to come together, share stories, and discuss plans for the day. Unlike today's often distracted meals where screens dominate attention, every dinner was an opportunity to communicate, teach, and connect. Evenings were filled with games, reading, or music. Robert sometimes played the fiddle, while Eleanor led the children in singing folk songs. These activities strengthened relationships and nurtured creativity, imagination, and emotional intelligence. Celebrations were also deeply meaningful. Birthdays and holidays were marked by home-cooked meals, handmade gifts, and communal festivities. Clara might spend weeks crafting paper ornaments, while Samuel carved wooden toys for his siblings. Thanksgiving brought the entire community together for a shared meal, storytelling, and reflection on the year's blessings. Each child learned patience, creativity, and the value of contributing to the household and community. Health and wellness were maintained without modern medicine. Diets consisted of fresh produce, milk, eggs, and preserved foods. Physical labor kept the family fit and resilient, while the supportive community offered mental and emotional stability. When illness struck, remedies were often homegrown, based on knowledge passed down through generations. This reliance on natural resources and community knowledge not only fostered independence, but also strengthened bonds between neighbors and relatives. Leisure time, although simple, was rich with opportunity for growth and imagination. Children spent hours outdoors, learning skills such as hunting, fishing, and tracking, or simply exploring nature. They engaged in games that required strategy, cooperation, and physical skill. Storytelling and music provided not only entertainment, but also moral lessons and cultural education. In the absence of electronic distractions, the imagination flourished, and every family member played a meaningful role in the household's life.
Financial management and resourcefulness were key aspects of daily life. Money was scarce, and every purchase required careful thought. Children learned the value of hard work and saving through chores and small trade within the community. Samuel, for example, would trade eggs or produce for books or materials he wanted, learning early lessons in entrepreneurship and resourcefulness. Families like the Thompsons rarely accumulated luxury items, but they invested in skills, education, and experiences, which were considered far more valuable than material wealth. Above all, the most remarkable aspect of life 100 years ago was the depth of human connection. The Thompsons demonstrated that true wealth lies not in possessions, but in relationships, shared experiences, and meaningful engagement with one another. Love was expressed not through words alone, but through acts of service, protection, teaching, and shared responsibility. Each day presented opportunities to build resilience, empathy, and mutual respect. In a world where technology now often isolates people, the closeness and warmth of these families serve as a reminder of the power of human connection. As the children grew, they carried the lessons of their upbringing into the wider world. Samuel eventually pursued higher education in the city, while Clara became a teacher in the local school, sharing not only knowledge, but the values and traditions of her family. Despite the sweeping changes of the 20th century, the advent of electricity, automobiles, telephones, and eventually television, the foundation laid by families like the Thompsons ensured that the principles of community, responsibility, and emotional closeness endured. Reflecting on the life of an American family 100 years ago, it is astonishing how rich, purposeful, and resilient these lives were. The simplicity of daily routines, the centrality of family and community, and the meaningful engagement in work, play, and learning created a depth of experience that modern conveniences often fail to replicate. In observing these families, one can see that wealth is not measured by possessions or gadgets, but by the strength of relationships, the richness of experiences, and the sense of belonging fostered across generations. 100 years ago, life may have been harder in some ways, but it was filled with connection, purpose, and resilience that many of us today are striving to rediscover.